Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Love ya, Caleb here. I'm gonna be reacting to Truth or Myth Americans React to Stereotypes. Um, Hopefully they're not horrible stereotypes, but people seem to like when I react to stuff that's just dumping on Americans, so either way it should be okay. Let's see.
Seems like a good time. You buy a gun, shoot a little, you go back home, eat some Whataburger, and chill.
Oh man. I'm gonna say compared to the average person in the earth, yes, Americans are more loud and obnoxious. True. End of story.
Completely true.
I've been banned from places.
A quick story. I was in Hollywood actually, and I went with some friends, and I had this gay friend who just went into the restaurant basically yelling. He was a little drunk. And whenever they would make an announcement on the speaker, he would go, "Yeah, yeah!" And he was just very loud the whole time. He started like dancing and yelling sporadically, and it was really fun to watch. But I don't know, people get kind of crazy when they drink, but I don't know anybody else he hadn't even drunk that much. But anyway.
Americans definitely loud. Sometimes obnoxious.
Sometimes obnoxious. Yeah, very entitled.
More.
True. They literally told us to be quiet at the cafe that we were waiting at before this interview.
People aren't obnoxious enough. Yeah, people need to be more obnoxious.
I mean, there's always introverts in any culture, right?
Yeah.
I get told I'm loud in many countries, so I think it's true.
Very opinionated. Like, we very much feel like our way is the right way. We tend to voice our opinions more unreservedly.
You're raised to super just be an individual. You can be whatever you want to be.
We're encouraged to participate in our
That's true. We're definitely raised to be individual. That's maybe the truest.
growing up in education, like here when somebody calls your name.
I think also we have a very egocentric culture, so we're kind of all selfish and we want our own point to be heard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would say narcissistic would be the better word to use, but that's not too far from egocentric, so sure. It's not everybody, but it is a lot of people.
So we just try to talk over each other.
I could get angry about this. I have the right to get angry
Because the customer's always right, so that has to play in everything. Yeah.
If I go someplace in Europe, I can always be, I'm American.
Why are these other than Americans?
Because they're loud and obnoxious.
It's the little tornadoes. Like we roll in and we're like, wow, roll out. Yeah, you're supposed to stand out. You're supposed to declare your individualism.
Just in case anybody doesn't really know Americans that well or hasn't been to America, all of these people are sort of more outgoing types. So again, it is stereotype, and with stereotypes, it doesn't apply to everyone. So.
I feel like I have pretty good geography.
I've honestly just recently discovered new countries. Like Luxembourg and Belgium.
I know people in.
Most Americans know very little geography. I would say most couldn't even name our own states. But I would guess that many Europeans couldn't name every single country within Europe. And I think there's about 50 countries. I don't know exactly. I can label all the countries in Europe, but I'm sort of different in that I find geography somewhat interesting, so I've kind of studied it on my own. But the average American really doesn't know that much. Again, to be fair, our country is about equal in population and size to Europe. I don't know about size, but certainly in population. So to say, oh, these Europeans can label all this stuff in Europe and Americans can't, or they can only label some stuff in their country. If they can label stuff, a decent amount of stuff in their own country, I think it's somewhat equal of a comparison, especially in that America is founded as, it's supposed to be just a group of individual countries, United States, state meaning country. So it is sort of like just another Europe, but obviously very different.
But it's in Louisiana or Texas, they don't even know where Idaho is. Okay, so generally, no. But I do.
I mean, I've seen those videos where they show the Americans the map.
It'd be funny if all the Americans were like, the other Americans don't know geography, but I know it.
And they're like, oh, where's China? And they have no idea where it is.
I haven't seen that, no.
Oh, I think that's false. I know geography and I'm American. That's not as true as I think people think, but there are, especially, I want to say more in the center of the country.
All of these people seem like they're fairly educated. So if you go to poorer, less educated areas, even in wealthy areas, a lot of people don't know geography. So I'm going to disagree with these people somewhat.
People that travel less generally know less geography.
The coastal states
Did,
are probably
yeah,
better.
In school, they focus mainly on your state, but they're not giving you a holistic view. Like if you're in Europe, you have to know all of Europe. We kind of get like a month or so on that, and then moving on.
That's his experience. The thing is that every state has different laws, every state has different like curriculum and things like that. And then the counties can have certain laws, the districts can have certain laws, the individual schools can have certain laws, practices, and each teacher can teach differently. It all has a lot of variation in it, but in general, there's not a huge emphasis put on geography.
Americans are pretty aware of like the Americas.
Let me just say, I took an advanced European course where I got college credits from in high school, so it was pretty thorough. So again, I would say that I know quite a bit more than the average American, but yeah, not all of them get that. One cool thing about high schools in America is you have a little bit of choice in what you want to study. It's not just like, here's your courses, that's it.
And like, they know pretty well that like Dominican Republic might be in like Cuba, which Europe might not be as savvy on, but if you bring in like Eastern European countries, game over.
Or Asia,
Or anywhere else basically.
How well do you know your geography?
I think pretty good, yeah.
And you think that it's true that many Americans don't own passports?
Yes.
It's funny because Americans are... I saw this video, there's a great movie called Waiting for Superman, and it's about the education system in America. And they said that Americans' children had consistently ranked lower than lower than many developed countries on a variety of metrics, but they ranked number one in confidence. So it was an epidemic of overconfidence in America, and I don't know if epidemic is the right word, but it's very, very common. So I think if you put these people to the test, their geography would probably not be as good as they think it is, but I don't know.
Very true. We do have passports, but I mean, my brother-in-law doesn't, and I have several friends who don't. So I do think generally for how wealthy our country is, we have a very small percentage of people that have passports.
You just don't go anywhere. So many people getting a passport.
Again, if you were going to travel throughout Europe as a European, well, you might need a passport, I don't know. But in America, you don't. You can just go from state to state. So that's a big area to travel around in without needing a passport, so it's a bit different.
or last minute before going on a flight, they didn't know they needed one to go to, say, Mexico.
It's also a huge country, so you can do a lot of traveling without a passport.
Good point. Yes.
Art.
Yes, clearly. Very true. It's getting better though. For sure getting better. I think the worst point was when I was like a kid in the 90s. The height of trash food eating. And very slowly since then there's been more of a push for healthier food. It's getting better. Slowly but surely.
Arby's?
Arby's answers your question.
I completely agree on the fast food part, and I love it, but
Yeah, I don't eat fast food.
I don't think that's true. You don't? No, I think it depends on where you are.
True. True. I mean, actually, you know what? Living over here, I do miss some fast food restaurants.
I always eat Taco Bell when I go back right away.
I personally don't.
I don't mean to be rude, but a lot of these people look like they might be a fair weight. I've gotten pretty good at figuring out when people are kind of hiding their weight because it's so common in America, hiding their extra fat. Anyway, yeah, just because you see someone seems that way with, you know, the clothes that they're wearing, they might be hiding some fat very well. Yeah, anyway.
as an egg,
I've never had
it's like very just easy to go. You know, mom don't have time for dinner. It's just stop by McDonald's, boom.
Fast food, yes. Obese, that comes with eating fast food, I guess.
I think it's because of our go culture, which is why there's a lot of or convenience. Our country is so big, so it necessitates having a car. Just the way our country's been set up with the highways, and so it leaves less chance to walk outside, especially if you're living in a suburb.
I'm from the Midwest, they're pretty big.
Well, definitely not LA. Out of the 10 most obese cities in the US, 5 of them are in Texas.
If you take like French fries and like you leave them on the counter, they will literally last for like days. They don't even get bad. They just gotta get a little hard and kind of let's start looking a little clear. And the same thing with burgers. They just dry out.
Fast food.
They don't get moldy. They don't go bad.
Fast food.
Americans are pretty obese, comparatively.
The UK has more now.
Mexico and Cuba have both surpassed us. Congratulations.
Because American fast food.
Mexico surpassed us, but then we surpassed them, so it's in a race for the most obese country. But yeah, it's pretty bad in Mexico too. Probably because of our influence.
That eating a lot of pork.
There's becoming this more like culture of more like healthy conscious and or even more healthier choices on these fast food menus.
Obviously no, but many do. Many do. Even people, there's an interesting thing in left and right in America of politics, and we say Republican or Democrat, whatever. There's people who, on the left, stereotypically, generally are for gun control and against owning guns, but a lot of them actually do have guns. Ones that I know of.
No, but it is your right as an American to own a gun.
Hell yeah.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Every.
Especially if you're in the South. Everybody I know has a gun. Literally. No matter where in the country they're. Everybody has.
No. I think this is questions tailored at Florida. Florida loves guns. We have some wild gun laws, and you can go to Walmart and just buy a gun.
Walmart doesn't sell guns anymore. Maybe air rifles, but I'm pretty sure they don't sell guns anymore.
A lot of times without an ID, no waiting period, you can buy an assault rifle at Walmart.
I will say in the
Not true anymore.
north, definitely not as much. I know very few people.
In the north? Where is he from? Washington or something? He's probably from like, let me see. 546. I'll come back. I just want to see where this guy's from. Michigan? What? That guy's way off. I'm from the state right next to him, and I know that there's a lot of guns in this state. So maybe I don't know why he would say that. I would say that's the most incorrect thing that I've heard.
I know very few people with guns.
No, I don't. I've never owned a gun. Some places, maybe like Texas.
Is it easy to buy a gun in Texas?
I've personally been next to many peers that purchase guns right in front of me. But it's a good time. You buy a gun, you shoot a little, you go back home, eat some Whataburger, and chill.
My roommate, actually, we lived together in a house downtown. We didn't lock the front door, we didn't lock our bedroom, and he had like an AR-15, an AK-47, a car.
He just said that people don't own guns. What is he? He's like, oh, it's not very common in the North. What are you talking about?
98, so
This guy has his roommate has a bunch of guns. He's like, people don't really have guns.
I went to Walmart, and this was a while ago. I was like, so, just out of curiosity, if I want to buy a gun, like, can I buy a gun? He's like, yeah, like, you can buy it, like, but you have to have a waiting period of 3 days. I'm like, if you want a gun, like, right now, it's probably because you want to kill somebody.
I would disagree with that, but I mean, I'm sure there are people that like that. Yes. Yes. This is... Oh my goodness. This is... It's difficult to deal with because so few people... I'm going to guess maybe half, or even if it's 20% of people have some sort of dream, like I want to be a big actor, I want to be a president, or something that almost no one statistically gets to do. I want to be a professional athlete. So lots of dreams are crushed every minute, every second in America because so many Americans have big dreams, and statistically so few will be able to accomplish those. However, dreams can change. Some dreams die, sometimes you have other dreams, so it's not always that there's one specific dream in someone's life, and if they don't get it, then it's over. Anyway.
What are we saying? Man of opportunity.
That's right.
Yes, I love.
It was the land of opportunity. I mean, there is still opportunity, but it can be difficult.
That's one of my favorite things about the U.S.
I think that we're taught that in a very young age, and that's in our DNA and in our blood.
I don't know about so
Yes.
optimistic.
Optimistic that's relative as hell.
I think I understand where he's coming from. I think what they mean from optimistic is like seeing something as being a possibility. A lot of Americans are like, they think they truly believe they can be this thing, whatever it is they're dreaming of, even if they don't they kind of have a cynical view on the world, or they might think it's, they might not be thinking that optimistically, but still hold on to that dream or believe it to be a possibility.
The American dream.
The American dream.
Right? You can do anything, you put your mind to it, if you work hard enough. Yes.
You can achieve it and you can be it, and I think that that's something that's very motivating.
It is great. I'd say it does do more good than bad. Probably. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe it is bad. But I think it probably does do more good than bad in the world. But it does come with heartache and crush. I think one thing we could do is prepare people better and try to be more malleable if something doesn't work out, and deal with things not working out, because we kind of just go, you can do it, and that kind of thing can lead people down a bad path, like getting sucked up by MLMs, like just multi-level marketing, or like pyramid schemes, because they're real encouraging and they go, you can do it, look at me. And so if you have that sort of mentality, it's very easy to get sucked into that sort of thing, or sort of cult-like things where people keep pushing this dream and believe, and you see in Silicon Valley, that's sort of mentality can be very beneficial and cause great, huge, massive companies, but it can also be very toxic, and it can, if you look at Theranos, a company that caused a lot of damage because they were trying to do something, but it wasn't working, and they put people's health at risk. If you look at Steve Jobs, he made Apple. That's great, a lot of fantastic products, but he was, if you watch his documentaries, dealt with people quite harshly and did get results, but at what cost, If you see the documentaries, you see that it's quite harsh on some people. So anyway.
Just do it.
Definitely optimistic, definitely. But that's because we make things happen.
Historically, people come to the U.S. looking for.
I think that's true. I think America doesn't get enough credit for making things happen, for all of the innovation, the internet, planes, phones, computers. These are all massive developments of the modern age, and there's many more. But America just mostly gets dumped on a lot. That's what I hear. So anyway, I wish people were a little more appreciative. I understand America's done tons of terrible things, but there's a lot of good that comes from America too. A lot of beneficial things.
For a better life, and I think that's kind of what we were all sold.
We can come from nothing or have nothing and then still.
Yeah. This is true. I just wanted to back up here.
It's kind of what we were all sold.
We can come from nothing or have nothing and then still be successful. You don't have to come from royalty or old money.
Our country was built.
It's way harder to do this nowadays, but it's still very possible. But like when my parents were kids, they could just get a job at a factory and work their way up, and get a job anywhere almost and work their way up, stay with a company, and they'd have a fine life. Now you have to try to figure out where skills are needed, if it's worth it to study something or try to just get an internship or try to be an apprentice with something, if there's enough jobs available for a specific thing. A lot of other things. I won't go into that, but you have to use your brain more, a lot more now than back then. More your, jobs using your body were very prevalent. Now it's a lot more, obviously with tech, a lot more mind focused. Anyway.
Built on people like Rockefeller or J.P. Morgan or Carnegie. They started their whole empires from nothing.
I went to America looking for that, so I definitely fall in that category.
We kind of just go for it. We don't have anybody to apologize to.
It's all about
Who would you apologize to?
hard work and merit and just like having a sheer will.
I think people take bigger risks more frequently in the U.S.
I'm going to speak from my community. We have a lot in our way that we can get around, but
it's a lot of extra hoops.
It's a lot of extra hoops, man.
I think in the past, the Americans were a lot more.
I won't go down that road, but that's up for debate, I would say. I think it's, in a certain sense, can be quite bad, but there can be great opportunity if he's saying my community. What he means is being a African descent in America. But if you are the only person of African descent in a company, often companies try to look to promote the person who's different. Not always. Sometimes they treat them worse. But it's, again, I could talk about that for a long time. I won't go into it. But kind of getting off topic anyway. So let's get back into it.
Optimistic than they are right now.
Like, if you compare it to going to somewhere like Slovenia, Slovakia, or somewhere like that, where people really just kind of, such as life. We're optimistic comparatively.
Why did he pick those two countries? But anyway.
Nation of risk takers. Anybody who's immigrated there is, larger than life.
Yeah, this goes what I said about narcissism. I feel like they kind of touched on this before. Oh yeah, I touched on it before. Highly narcissistic culture, mostly I would say women more so, but that's my opinion.
But aren't we though?
I'm gonna get so much in trouble answering this question.
Oh, I hate that. I don't think that.
Some Americans, sure, but I think some people feel that way everywhere.
I mean, we're definitely the biggest country, so it makes sense.
Russia is the biggest in land area.
That guy just showed. An example of an American and what they know about geography, sadly.
I just feel like we don't talk about, so that makes us kind of the center of the universe. Because honestly, everyone's worried about what America's doing.
American exceptionalism is because we're exceptional.
To be, if that's what he meant, he did not phrase it well. But if that's his point, it's kind of hard to argue with that because, in that sense, yeah, a lot of people outside of America think about America or talk about America. Not everyone. Don't be mad at me, please. I'm just saying a lot of foreigners I know things about America and sometimes things that I won't even know or I'll be surprised to hear and other Americans won't know. But very rarely do Americans know things about other countries, especially things very specific and to the subculture and things like that. And people, I do think, pay attention to America and what America's doing. Sometimes for bad reasons because, war and things like that. Hopefully, I think we're starting to do less of that, hopefully. But sometimes for good reasons because we do have a lot of the biggest and the best, most innovative companies. So anyway.
But I also think, the U.S. has been in a powerful position in the world for a long time, and I think that tends to make people feel entitled in some key ways.
And you get that kind of validated by pop culture and music and movies. Everyone consumes American culture.
Seeing Americans as we travel.
Not everyone, but a lot of people, yes.
I've seen the worst of that. Not all of us, but a lot of us, yeah.
This is mostly true, but we also have likely the most diverse group of speakers in that I think you could probably find the largest number of languages spoken within America as compared to any other country. Not a lot of smaller, how do I say, not a lot of, a certain language in India isn't spoken much in America, but you can find somebody who speaks that. Whereas in India, I don't think there's Navajo talkers. I don't know how to say this, but maybe there is. I think if for any language in the world, you can probably find someone in America who speaks that. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas for a lot of other countries, I don't think you could say the same thing. But there's probably very few of those speakers. There are a lot of Spanish speakers here now. I think it's 5 or 10% of the country, which I know that might be laughable for some people, but it's kind of a big thing for American history because prior to probably the year 2000, it was only 1 or 2% or something. So that it's growing a lot. I'll just say that. And people are starting to learn more and more languages. I speak 4 languages, including English, obviously. But that was sort of not of my choosing. It sort of, I don't need to go into that story, but anyway, most Americans only speak English. Mostly true.
Well, what else are we gonna speak?
It's usually
I mean, is that gotta be a question? 'Cause yes.
I think that's probably accurate, actually, for a lot.
I grew up in partially in Spanish Harlem in New York. There's a lot of people there who speak Spanish and don't speak English. So
In Florida, of course, you're going to have a lot of Spanish speakers. In California, a lot of places.
In school, it's not really pushed upon us to learn another language unless you want to do.
In my school, it was pushed. I had to take, in middle school, I had to take Spanish, and I had to take 2 years of foreign language in high school. So that's a good example of the requirements being different in every different area, every different school and whatnot.
Do that as an elective.
I speak bits of like 21, 22 languages. I really love languages. We're out there polyglots.
I speak Spanish.
I speak Japanese.
Speak Portuguese, Spanish, and French.
Some French, Italian, Spanish, and Mandarin.
I feel really bad now.
The United States is huge. Like if you're in Europe, you can travel. I mean, in Portugal, you can travel like 2 hours, and you're in Spain, you can practice Spanish. In the United States, you travel 2 hours, like you've gone to the next city over practically.
In Texas, probably May. If you travel 2 hours in Texas, you're in the same
You're
spot.
going nowhere.
You're in the same place.
I don't really like small talk. Superficial. Yeah, I think most people in the world are fairly superficial. That could be a real long talk. I won't go into the details why, but I think most people are quite superficial. Anyway.
Hey, hi, how are you? Just because we're naturally, I think, jolly, happy people. And I think for some cultures are like, what? Whoa.
It's essential to life. Like you gotta be like, hey,
You think so?
Yeah, you have to have small talk just to get through some awkward moments.
I don't know. I
Small talk.
enjoy the frankness that some cultures have.
I think automatically when you meet someone and you introduce yourself, I find myself sometimes even saying like, I'm fine, before they even ask me, how are you?
Not in my part of the country. I feel like in Texas, everybody's honest and pure.
I'm from the South, so
Yeah.
Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, hey, if I don't know you.
I think for a lot of Americans, it comes from like a really genuine, nice place.
In LA, where
Here, I think this is interesting. This guy says,
For a lot of Americans, it comes from like a
whoop,
really
whoop,
genuine.
whoop, whoop.
Like in Texas, everybody's honest and pure.
I'm from the South, so
Yeah.
Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, hey, if I don't know you.
I'm going to say if I know. So this is like a lot of my friends. They will talk to who's ever's around if we're out on the street, if we're not usually in public transportation, but if we happen to be in a store or whatever, some of my friends will just talk with who's ever around.
I think for a lot of Americans, it comes from like a really genuine, nice place.
in LA, we're seen as superficial by a lot of the other states, but states like New York, I think, are very, straightforward and blunt.
But the other thing is we are very direct and open people. And so if you sometimes ask, how are you? I might say, my day is not actually going very well. My husband asked for a divorce.
Jeez! Oh my goodness. That's so extreme. That is not true. Most people will not do that unless you know the person very well. You would not say, actually, my husband asked for a divorce. Most people would not do that. I think. That's pretty wild.
Like we will tell you our deepest, most personal details. That's
Some people, but most people wouldn't do that, I think.
very American.
If they ask you at Starbucks, hi, how are you? Would you say not well? Yeah, I think I have. What kind of shitty mood?
Hey, how's the weather?
The weather's great.
It's great today.
How are the kids?
Oh, that's really weird, making a fake conversation. I don't like that thing. I don't like that, but whatever.
The kids do
We
it.
don't have kids. I had a fur baby. She was
Okay, perfect. I'm catching up. But it kind of goes like that. You gotta ask your neighbor how their dog is doing even though you don't really care.
And that's like all those things at once is like
I don't like that at all. I don't like talking and asking and pretending you care. I think if you care, then ask. Otherwise, I don't know. I guess it's still kind of nice. They're trying to seem nice, whatever. I don't know, whatever.
Or good morning or hello. We just will say, hello, how are you? You know, what's up? And we don't always really expect an answer either. That's just a greeting.
Yeah.
So,
Like, yeah, we don't actually want to know, like, the long story.
People are just too busy to
If I ask something, I want to know. That's how I am. So,
actually like.
but that kind of goes to the biggest stereotype, I think, that what they mentioned before is that Americans are very individualistic. So, if any American doesn't feel like they want to go along with these stereotypes, then they just won't. It's not like they will go, I gotta fit in. Some people will, but not everybody.
Like go deeper and spend more time getting to know people. They're always in a hurry. I mean, I'm from New York, so everybody's in a hurry and they're just like, oh, great, whatever. And they don't really mean anything.
I think Americans they try hard to be polite and socially correct. There's kind of a puritanical history also to the country, and they try to be sort of proper with one another. And the easiest way to do it is just to be like that. Like, oh, great, okay, sounds awesome.
I want to know how the weather is. I mean, what's your favorite sports team? All these things. This is how you actually meet people and you can actually connect. It's like, oh yeah.
Disappointing to hear both people from the South say the same thing, that they don't care, but they ask. Again, I'm not like that, but
yes.
I'm not trying to praise myself either. It's like I'm some great guy. I just genuinely, if I'm interested, I'll ask. If not, then I won't.
It works.
can I say the T word?
And I get the comment of, you're
Most annoying stereotype. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, for me, it's not annoying, but that Americans eat hamburgers all the time. I understand why, because McDonald's, is such a ubiquitous thing. But anyway,
so American. And it's like, well, because I am.
The sense that you have to be a brand ambassador for America if you're American. Like, people come to you and they say, well, what's up with this? And you're like, look, man, I'm just trying to live my life.
Everybody wants to know about Trump, and we have to talk about Trump. Like, I chose him as a president.
That we're all super patriotic. Yeah, that's not true.
As a Black American,
that used to be true. I mean, Americans used to be super patriotic, but that's gone down very much, especially recently.
I automatically think hip hop. And she asked me where I was from. I was like, America. She said, oh, yo. Now, I would be offended, but that's all she knows.
There's people that travel, they're very entitled.
Says yes, people feel we're entitled.
But the unfortunate thing is there are some Americans, they're like, why aren't you speaking English? Yeah, because you're in a freaking different country, that's why.
I'm from Kansas, so I get all kinds of crazy stereotypes. When you don't know geography, so you own a gun, tractors, and so everyone bees, all the bad things.
Anything that's like one way, that always kind of bothers me because it is such a huge place.
That's true. It's weird. It's weird because it is such a huge place. It is very divided. So you can find some extreme differences, but at the same time, it's not nearly as different as Greece is from Belgium. And, and countries differentiate in Europe. It's far more similar across the board, Americans in one area and another of the country.
Most of us are not as crazy as it looks on the internet.
We're actually quiet, friendly, and open-minded. And if you do come to Texas, no, we won't shoot you. Just don't go into the wrong property.
We are vegans and multilingual people and all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't believe, even in the Midwest and South.
We can be well-traveled and thoughtful and not loud.
If we seem ignorant at the beginning compared to what you've learned in school, it's not because we don't want to know it, I would say.
Yeah, get to know us.
We are dope.
Hope you guys all enjoyed.
That was one of the best videos I've seen on America and stuff, and I think most of the answers were quite good. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you would like, comment, subscribe, I'd appreciate it. But if you don't want to, that's fine. One other thing I just thought of, if you're still watching, is that talking about the, we're not all the same. We're not all the same. We have difference, and it's a big country. It's a kind of a, I mentioned two things, but there's another layer, is that we do have very much similarities, but there can be a few big differences depending on where somebody's from. There can also be a lot of differences just because of the individualism culture that they mentioned before. So people can live right next to each other and be very, very different in America. That's ultra normal in America. Anyway, yeah, take care. Love ya. Have a good one.